go to Tokyo bright and early tomorrow morning. Nah, gotcha. I get to go to Tokyo. I just want to be better. New Year's Eve in Tokyo is going to be crazy.
I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment.
I feel bad. I feel a lot of regret.
I suggest you use the money you got from pumping your Patreon to hire a good lawyer. You're gonna need it.
Why would you disrespect me?
A few weeks ago, I asked you to give me suggestions about a video I could make extensively covering the history of scandals and controversies related to specific creators. And I think it's fair to say that request received a lot of support. There were a lot of great suggestions, but one stood out much more frequently than the rest. A topic that I think could be the perfect choice to pilot this brand new series. Their reputation precedes them. Today we're talking about the Paul brothers. I've found no less than 30 controversies between the brothers. Some of them I'm sure you know about, some of them I'm sure you've forgotten about, and some of them I'm sure will be new to you. So in this video we're going right down the Paul brothers controversies timeline. There are just so many here that we're going to have to split them up by going year by year. As I said, this is going to be a very long one, so heat up your popcorn, fluff your pillow, get comfy, grab a cheeky pint, and let's get into it. It only makes sense to start things at the beginning. As you might know, the pair were born in Ohio, with Logan the oldest born in 1995 and Jake the youngest born in 1997. They would first be noticed by the masses back in 2013 after they both made Vine accounts, and quickly rose to become some of the platform's most recognisable creators. For the first few years, the pair stayed relatively clean. Their only real crime was being slightly cringy and annoying. In fact, if you go back far enough on the internet, you could find this cute little article written by Gavia Baker Whitelaw for the Daily Dot that was written back in August 2015, which describes Logan Paul as the Vine star that can't stop doing the splits. Perhaps it was these sorts of light-hearted early articles that allowed the pair to realise that doing big stunts led to media attention, which in turn leads to more eyes on you. It's essentially free advertising. A day prior to this article dropping though, and Logan Paul would create his YouTube channel and would soon begin to make vlogs, as would his brother. Early in the year following, Jake Paul would famously be cast in the Disney Channel show Bizaardvark alongside Olivia Rodrigo. And a few months later, within a video titled We Got Our New Home, he would announce that he's moving house in West Hollywood. And this is the best place to begin the timeline. Our pieces are finally in place. Logan Paul by 2016 is uploading consistent daily vlogs to YouTube, and Jake Paul is doing the same, as well as dipping his toes into television. At this point, not a single soul on this earth would have possibly been able to predict what would happen to these two over the next several years. So Jake Paul was the first of the pair who would fall into controversy. In the summer of 2017, news articles broke that Jake Paul had been turning his neighbourhood into a living hell. As it turns out, the stunts that Jake and Logan were doing at the house were upsetting Jake's neighbours. Videos such as "Lit my brother's backyard on fire" were called into question, as the brothers and their friends were disrupting the peace of an otherwise calm neighbourhood, one burning mattress at a time.
Come on! Ah!
Other news reports showed the general antisocial behaviour that the pair would get up to. One time, Jake drove his motorcycle into his pool. On multiple occasions, he would constantly have people over to party, he trashed his house, he vandalised it, all in the name of content. This reckless behaviour would catch up to him, however, because as we've already established, Jake at the time worked for the mouse. He was on Disney's Bizaardvark. And since then, it's been fairly well documented that the reason he was fired from the show was because of these sorts of shenanigans. Upon his termination, Jake Paul posted this to Twitter. He thanked Disney for the 2 years that they had together and promised his audience that he now wanted to take some time to develop his own personal brand, as well as Team 10. At the time though, the pair weren't just under fire for the destructive nature of their content, but also the authenticity of it. In September 2017, Logan Paul uploads a video titled "The Truth About My Colorblindness," and in this video, he responded to some criticism thrown his way about his alleged colorblindness. You see, back in November 2016, he made a video titled "My Glasses Cured My Colorblindness," and in that video, he would try on some glasses that supposedly fixed colorblindness. What followed was dramatized to say the least.
It's unbelievable.
You'll notice how within the comment section of this colour blindness video, a lot of people at the time were calling him out. And within his response, he mentioned that his reactions weren't exactly genuine. Rather than calling them fake, he described them as embellished.
Just like any storyteller, I made it a little bit, I exaggerated my reactions and the color blindness. That's why people thought that I was lying. However, I will say this, I did not lie. I did not lie. What I did do is embellish.
As controversies go, this one was almost futile in retrospect. But what was about to come next was the polar opposite.
Guys, little gang, on that note, that is the vlog. I'm gonna go sleep. Hopefully I wake up. Gotta go to Tokyo bright and early tomorrow morning. Nah, gotcha. I get to go to Tokyo. I just wanna be better. New Year's Eve in Tokyo is gonna be crazy.
You knew that this was coming. But a few short months after his response to the colour blindness video, Logan Paul would have to respond to his blindness regarding human decency. In late 2017, he was on a trip to Japan where he would record one of the most infamous videos ever uploaded to the internet. And this isn't even to mention the general disrespectful demeanour that he exhibited in Japan within videos that have since been deleted. In the re-uploads, Logan can clearly be seen saying that he knows that Japan is a country of custom and respect, yet he clearly doesn't seem to care, making a nuisance of himself out in public.
I just gotta be careful to not like disrespect the culture, because Logan, Japan is all about the respect. Well, sorry, he's Snorlax. Wake up, Andy. Andy, wake up. We got trouble. The cars and merch to sell. Toyota, I choose you. No.
This behaviour shouldn't be too much of a surprise though, because 24 hours later and the man would wander into the Aokigahara forest at the base of Mount Fuji. This forest is known as a place where people frequently take their own lives. Logan of course knew this too, and thus the video "We found a dead body in the Japanese suicide forest" was born.
I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment, and I don't expect to be forgiven. I'm simply here to apologize.
I don't think I have anything new to say or that worthwhile to add, but this incident sparked severe outrage throughout the internet.
He doesn't really respect the Japanese as people, and I like almost as though he sees us as caricatures, as people maybe.
So Logan Paul's filming his abysmal vlogs and he goes to the legendary suicide forest. No, he didn't go there to kill himself, but he did go there to kill his career.
You sick little freak. Do you know that? Do you know how empty you are inside? You've shown your true colours to everyone now, bitch.
Logan has since said that though this was one of the worst moments of his life, it actually saved him, with him now looking back at this time in his life with disgust and contempt. People were pissed with Logan, and they had every right to be. He ended the year 2017 in perhaps the absolute worst possible way you conceivably could. But things would arguably get even worse for both him and his brother in the year 2018. So Logan Paul is by now in the doghouse, and things are only going to get worse for him. In January 2018, he was by far the easiest punchline and biggest whipping boy of the entire internet. This image just about sums up January 2018 in online culture, and though it was quite small in comparison, I need to address that on the 2nd of January 2018, people went through Logan's Twitter and found some old tweets, ones perhaps relevant to his treatment of the Japanese. Tweets like this, saying that Asians have small penises, or like this, taking a picture with an Asian boy in front of Buckingham Palace, would lead Jimmy Wong to come out on Twitter and accuse Logan Paul of racism against Asians. Some people were saying that these were merely jokes, be the judge of that yourself. But these were the kinds of things that were being said about Logan at the time. In response, he would take a 3-week self-imposed break from content creation. So with Logan perhaps at his lowest point ever, what was happening with Jake around this time?
I literally think I have one of the best jobs on the earth. And I think a lot of people will agree with that. I get to do what I want, where I want, with who I want, and make a lot of money doing it. And so, I wanted you guys to be able to do it too. Exclusive. So in 2017, guys, I spent hours and hours and hours developing something I call Edfluence.
And today we're going to start that by looking back at Edfluence, which was one of the most blatant scams I've ever seen from a YouTuber that weirdly didn't really affect Jake Paul at all.
On the 2nd of January 2018, Jake Paul comes out with his video, "Here's Why 2017 Was the Best Year of My Life." And within this video, he announces his new creator course, Edfluence, seemingly a portmanteau of the words education and influence, one of which Jake Paul has in spades. As we now know, this creator course, alongside about 95% of other creator courses, was essentially a scam. Drew Gooden made two fairly viral videos in 2018 and 2020 respectively, in which he did a bit of research into these courses and discovered that it just seemed to be a way to prey on kids that wanted to be internet famous.
Steps in this really aren't that hard. We've done the hard part of figuring out how to do this. So if you can't follow the roadmap, then there's just no chance you'll make it into Team 1000 or maybe even as a social media influencer. If you're a kid out there like I was, trying to start my social media career, you could become successful. And if you can't sacrifice some Starbucks for the next few weeks, then maybe that just means this life isn't for you.
I can't sacrifice Starbucks for a few weeks. I don't need that.
This program is perhaps better known as Team 1000, and it would pull a sneaky on these kids because after making a $7 purchase, the kids were then told that they would need to spend another $57 for the full course. This was crazy manipulative though, because what Jake Paul was probably banking on was that the parents would see this initial $7 charge, not think much of it and agree to it, enter their details and leave. And the child, upon seeing that they would need to spend more money to receive full access, would simply click buy. This was a scam, one that Jake Paul saw relatively little backlash from. He essentially got away with it scot-free. And this isn't even to mention that the Edfluence website itself was vindictively and manipulatively designed. Look at this pop up on it. The inner circle is the only place to get secret strategies that Team 10 used and still uses to get and keep attention, to build our audience, and to become top social media influencers. Your choices are either show me the inner circle or no thanks, I don't want to become social media famous. A no thanks would have sufficed. This is manipulative to a child audience because no one over the age of 14 is realistically trying to buy his course. At the very least, no one over the age of 14 should be falling for this manipulation tactic. As for the course itself, I have to admit that I did not spend $64 on it, so I can't testify as to whether it was worth that. However, from other creators' videos I've seen, it seems as though it was not. It seems as though anything that you could learn on there, you could also just learn on YouTube for free. Drew Gooden's video, however, also pointed out some other noteworthy details about Edfluence. He showed that it wasn't complete. He showed that the terms and conditions seemed to suggest that they could just institute new charges. Then, during Drew Gooden's follow-up video, it was discovered that Edfluence had been taken down from the web. Team 1000 never came. And the site wasn't even archived for the people who paid to get full access. This is perhaps one of the worst things that Jake Paul ever did, scamming his child audience $64 at a time, and he received relatively little backlash for it. And perhaps the worst part of it is that it's not even like he needed the money. This was an incredibly active time for Jake Paul in the media though, because right after this happened, we're talking 24 to 48 hours later, the press would once again set him in their crosshairs after he uploaded a video titled, "I Lost My Virginity." In particular, because of this thumbnail, which I'm not even sure if I can show, but in case I can't, it depicts a woman straddling Jake Paul, both of them half naked. And though Jake Paul allegedly changed the thumbnail after 15 minutes, other creators immediately took shots at it, challenging YouTube to do something about the brothers, and shortly after, the thumbnail was changed to something less audacious. As I've already mentioned, and as is fairly common knowledge, the Paul brothers' audiences at this time were kids and teens. Therefore, the original thumbnail was deemed to be highly inappropriate for his audience. In the span of 7 days, Jake Paul had scammed children and shared a picture of himself and another girl insinuating the moments preceding sex, whereas his brother had been highly disrespectful in Japan and showed the whole world a dead body for content. Speaking of his brother, luckily for Logan, he would never again release another controversial video. for about a month. In February 2018, he uploaded a video where he tased a dead rat. This is a controversy a little less remembered than his Japanese trip, but very relevant when it happened. Was this as extreme as the Japanese forest video? No. But it did present the message that Logan Paul's extreme behaviour wasn't likely going to stop anytime soon, even after receiving one of the biggest backlashes a content creator on the internet has ever seen. This was the breaking point for YouTube. They didn't give him any sanctions after the Japanese video, but now they announced that they were going to demonetize him. Logan Paul was then demonetized for about 2 weeks. YouTube received a lot of flack for not doing anything after the Japan incident. In fact, they actually promoted the video and put it on trending. So it seemed as though they felt they had to give him some sort of consequences after he came back and was once again making controversial videos. But, as I discussed in my YouTube conspiracy iceberg, realistically, YouTube just isn't going to fully demonetize their biggest creators except for extreme circumstances. They wouldn't want to miss out on that sweet, sweet ad revenue. So Logan Paul was making money again by the end of the month. So in both January and February, the brothers got into hot water, and March would be no different. On the 26th of March 2018, a plus-size model named Eliza Johnson conducted an interview with Psychology Today where she mentioned that she had felt very uncomfortable on the set of one of Logan Paul's music videos, a now deleted music video for his song No Handlebars. The song was released on the 23rd of November 2017, and before being taken down had amassed 26 million views, grossing Logan Paul reportedly over $1 million. Johnson stated that she didn't know what she was meant to be doing until she got on set, that she'd become exhausted by the 6th take, and that she felt ashamed and victimized. Pair that with the fact that apparently there was a discrepancy in pay between the models. There were about 8 or 9 models in total, and Johnson claimed that apparently other models were given $600, whereas she was given about half of that. Now, in the behind the scenes video, Eliza seems to show little indication that she was uncomfortable. However, given that Logan Paul was still recovering from the Japan incident a few months prior, almost anything about him would have made articles at this point in time. Also, a side note, the No Handlebars music video is important for later, so keep it in the back of your mind for now. And I hope you've been keeping a previous controversy in the back of your minds, because the following month, in April 2018, it seemed as though Jake Paul's past actions were going to catch up to him.
According to TMZ, the YouTube star is being sued by Cobra Acquisitions LLC for trashing the house he rented from them from May 2016 to December 2017.
You heard that right. The mansion that made him reviled within his neighborhood. The mansion that got him kicked off of the Disney Channel. The mansion he trashed, that he vandalized, that he graffitied, he partied in, he drove a bike into the pool and burned the furniture of, was potentially going to be a form of karma. And that's because, according to various sources, he was being sued $2.5 million to pay for substantial damages done to the property. He had recently moved into a $7 million home in Calabasas, but had apparently left his West Hollywood home in disarray. Now, despite there being plenty of articles that covered this incident as it was made public, I couldn't find a single article that detailed the outcome of this lawsuit. The only hint of evidence that I have that might tell us the outcome of this is Jake Paul himself, who in October 2022 told Eddie Hearn that he's 5-0 in lawsuits. He's not exactly the most reliable source, but that's really all we have to work with. Though something with a bit more evidence, yet barely known to mass audiences, is a Jake Paul controversy from May of 2018. On the 1st of that month, TMZ released this video of Jake Paul shot in 2015, in which he's doing some freestyle rap when he says the N-word on 2 separate occasions.
Whip it like my Richie. He make the pussy so wet it gets wetter.
According to TMZ, a source connected to Jake told them that the then 20-year-old was not racist and that Jake had matured a lot since the video was shot. Jake would have been roughly 17 at the time this was recorded, and though this was yet another charge on the rap sheet of Jake Paul, this was yet another controversy that didn't see a tremendous amount of backlash. And neither did Jake's next controversy. As we've already greatly established in this video, Jake Paul when he was younger had a bit of a penchant for property damage. And in June 2018, news broke that Jake Paul and his team were being sued once again for property damage, this one relating back to an incident in January 2018. Yes, the very same January that he launched Edfluence and had the inappropriate thumbnail, himself and his friends also released a series of videos in which they got up to their usual hijinks. The Aspen Times stated that his manager had leased an Aspen home for $61,148 and allegedly said it was for personal use. This wasn't exactly the case, since Jake Paul recorded content for his channel there. The suit stated that the disorderly conduct allowed and encouraged by Krista Burdett, their manager, included driving vehicles at excessive speeds in an irresponsible fashion on the property and throughout the neighborhood, driving vehicles on the property's lawn, neighbors' lawns, and protected open fields throughout the neighborhood, driving off-road vehicles on the property's tennis courts, pulling individuals on sleds throughout the neighborhood, driving off-road vehicles on the property and throughout the residential neighborhood at night, and using microphones and sound systems in the property at excessive noise levels. Once more, just like his landlord's lawsuit, I couldn't find the trial of this on Google, but if Jake is to be believed and he is 5-0 in lawsuits, this could be one of the 5. With that said, you might be surprised to hear that after such an active start to the year, the latter half of 2018 was relatively quiet for both Logan and Jake. The most likely reason for this was that Jake and Logan were now boxing. On the 25th of August 2018, the two brothers would fight the Olatunji brothers, better known as KSI and Deji. Within these fights, Jake would defeat Deji, whereas Logan would draw with KSI. Perhaps busy with training for the fight, Logan would stay out of the spotlight for the time being, whereas throughout the later months of 2018, Jake Paul would feature as the subject in a series of documentary videos made by Shane Dawson. Perhaps in an effort to portray himself in a different, more favourable light, as more sympathetic towards mass audiences, Jake too would remain a good boy for the rest of 2018, which leads us to 2019.
Guys, we are about to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on mystery boxes.
In terms of public reception, the start of 2019 wasn't great for the younger of the pair, as it was around then that Jake Paul uploaded a video called "I spent $5,000 on mystery boxes and you won't believe what I got." This video was actually uploaded on the 30th of December 2018, but since it was so close to New Year's, it really didn't receive any backlash until early 2019. This infamous video consisted of Jake Paul opening a loot box by Mystery Brand and then winning a number of luxury items.
What's in the box?
The loot box promised prizes ranging from shoes to AirPods to iPhones to a literal house. I'm not kidding, a mansion was the top prize. This was a big problem though, because as has already been well established, Jake Paul's audience was comprised of children who could relatively be expected to believe that this video was an accurate representation of what could happen. Firstly, this was gambling. You're spending your money, sometimes $100 at a time or more, with the idea that you're going to get something that's worth more than that. Now, don't get me wrong, Jake Paul was not the only person on YouTube to promote this, as RiceGum and Morgs promoted it too, and Jake Paul did clarify that you might not always win something that's worth the money you put in, but it's easy to say that when you're a multi-millionaire who's been paid to promote this brand. And this isn't even to mention that as someone who was paid to promote the brand, Jake could have extensively edited the video to cut out all of the big losses if he even had any in the first place. Audiences couldn't be sure that his account wouldn't be treated the same way as everyone else. Understandably, creators such as H3H3 and PewDiePie would call Jake out for this.
There's a couple things wrong with this, but I'll start with the most obvious one. RiceGum and Jake Paul have considerably young fans, and promoting a gambling website in general just seems like a bad idea for these people to do. Now, obviously, they don't care, and if they don't, I mean, what can you do?
And according to The Verge, there were also claims that many of the items that were being sent were actually inauthentic. So people were spending their hard-earned money in the promise to win knockoff luxury items. This was never disclosed by RiceGum, Jake Paul, or Morgs. And The Verge went on to write that some people never even got their items. One has to ask themselves, why on earth would a mega-rich, multi-millionaire like Jake Paul resort to scamming his audience not just once, but twice in 365 days? And while you're pondering that, let's check back in with Logan to see how his 2019 started off.
No. It's, what is it, male only March?
Why don't you say this part?
So it's male only March. We're going to attempt to go gay for just 1 month.
For 1 month,
damn.
and then swing, and then go back.
That's crazy. But yeah, coach.
I could not for the life of me tell you why the mainstream media picked up on this story so much. But in an episode of Logan Paul's podcast dropped on the 9th of January 2019, while describing his New Year's resolutions, Logan Paul said that he wanted to do male only March. And the idea of this was that he and his friends would go gay for a month and then switch back to straight come April. He and his co-stars and his guest all laughed at this, but then people started to attack Logan for the joke. Another creator named Daniel Preda tweeted this, saying that Logan Paul should use his platform to speak up for LGBT people, but how people genuinely believe that Logan Paul was saying this with malice is unknown to me. Nonetheless, it was a controversy, it made headlines, and it was a rocky start to 2019 for the older brother. Back to Jake, and come February, he would be on the receiving end of the third lawsuit of this video. According to TMZ, this one came because of his neighbour being placed under citizen's arrest by Jake's security. The neighbour alleged that back in 2018, he came around to Jake Paul's Calabasas home to confront him about the speed that he was driving in the community. The gate was apparently opened for him, and then he was verbally attacked by one of Jake's friends and detained by his security for no reason. Well, on second thought, there might have been a reason, because the neighbour thought that it was because of his race and nationality. Jake was not present at the time. However, in February 2019, his neighbour tried to sue Jake for false imprisonment and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Once more, I couldn't find any updates of this on the internet, though this could have been one of the 5 lawsuits that Jake Paul claims to have won, though that is unconfirmed. However, that wouldn't be the only lawsuit filed against the brothers in 2019. Come May, and it was announced that Logan Paul was being sued for his 2017 song No Handlebars, the one that Eliza Johnson was speaking about earlier. You see, No Handlebars was alleged to be a parody of the song Handlebars by the alternative hip-hop band Flobots. Apparently, the band were made aware of Logan's song in November 2017, and so released their own diss track in response called Handle Your Bars. The suit claimed that Logan made more than $1 million with the song and described the similarity between the melodic, rhythmic, and lyrical elements of each song, the use of handlebars in the titles, as well as the hooks and instrumentation, including a viola and a trumpet solo.
I can ride my bike with no handlebars. I can ride your girl with no handlebars.
Logan claimed that he didn't know who Flobots were, but the lawsuit did seem to have an impact on him because soon after it was announced, Logan actually took down No Handlebars. Different to the other ones in this video, this particular lawsuit does have a public result, as according to Flobots' own website, they claim that the suit was settled out of court and the band received compensation for the parody. May 2019 was also a busy time for Jake. Around the same time that reports were announcing the lawsuit against Logan, Jake was planning a party. A party that would make headlines because of the danger that some people who attended were put in.
YouTube star Jake Paul threw a wild and massive party this weekend. He even posted video on Instagram, but now there are shocking allegations. Someone drugged partygoers' drinks?
This is a story that I've spoken about in the past, but in case you didn't see my video on YouTube's horrific scandals, which I'll link in the description, Jake Paul was tasked with throwing a 22nd birthday party for the rapper Designer, probably best known for his song Panda. This was supposed to be the LA party to end all LA parties. It was hosted in a mansion, it had plenty of celebrities there, it had cars, it had a boxing ring, it had a DJ set, hundreds of guests, and of course, alcohol. But very shortly after the party, a local mother posted a message to a Facebook group called Mums of Conejo Valley, home to 17,000 members. She alleged that her daughter, as well as 8 other teenage girls, had been spiked with drugs and ended up in hospital. This was a massive problem for a number of reasons. First and foremost, this party was hosted in the USA, where you have to be 21 or older to drink. Any teenager that was drinking at that event was doing so illegally. Jake Paul either A, knowingly had teens there, or B, hired security that didn't do a good enough job. However, in a bit of a plot twist, the local sheriff's office stated that they had not received information from local hospitals that young adults were drugged. The truth of what actually happened at the party could only be told by the people who attended. Was someone in attendance going around and spiking young girls? I mean, it is in the realms of possibility. What's also within the realms of possibility though was that the girls who attended didn't have much experience with alcohol and didn't know their limits, so they drank too much too fast, gave themselves alcohol poisoning, and their state was self-inflicted. But on the topic of parties, in June 2019, Team 10 came under fire for allegedly kicking 2 trans women out of a house party for not being real women. On the 30th of June 2019, Lila Gibney and her friend Kendall Raindrop uploaded a video to YouTube titled "Kicked Out of Team 10 for Being Transgender, Video Proof." Now, I need to clarify that Gibney did say that she had nothing against Jake, saying that he's only ever been kind to her.
To start everything out, I just want to make one thing clear, and that is, in no way, shape, or form am I trying to like break an NDA and like be a bad bitch and like talk shit and like make Jake Paul seem like a bad person, because Jake Paul himself, love him. We've had great conversations, such a good guy, literally. But like what we just experienced, I feel like needs to be talked about.
But Team 10 was Jake Paul's group, so of course if they come under fire, he comes under fire. This is what the pair had to say.
I like don't even know how to explain to you guys like how disgusting the like energy was.
I feel like as soon as we got in there, it was like, so bad.
We walk in and there were just like so many random ass motherfucking people that I've never ever before seen in my life. And one of the fucking editors, his name is Blaine. Hi Blaine, we know you're watching this, don't care. He came up to us two and our friend who was born full everything, so cisgender, whatever the fuck you want to call it. He went up to her and he was
literally like, don't you guys have like a party to go to? Like, and you should probably go do that.
And we literally were like,
huh? Like we literally just got here.
Like we literally just were to Calabasas.
Literally from Hollywood. Like what?
So Kendall automatically was like, why? Like why would we leave? Like we literally just got here. And he was like, I don't know, like I just thought you guys were like gonna come with real girls.
We're not real girls, apparently.
What do you mean she's not a girl?
I'm not being
how is it transphobic though?
You literally just said she's not a girl.
We're trans.
So what do you okay, you are okay. You are.
What do you mean she's not a girl, Blaine? What do you mean it's fine? Like
I'm not trying to be disrespectful, I'm just being real.
Then why'd you say she's literally not a girl and like look at her?
It's just like why would you do that?
Because I was told that
but it doesn't.
You were told what?
I was told that girls were coming.
Okay, good. Girls are here.
Team 10 apparently announced on Instagram that they were launching an investigation into the incident. However, Gibney told Insider that the Team 10 manager Adam Quinn threatened legal action if they came forward with their experience. Gibney then shared some screenshots that showed her talking to Quinn over text.
I'll definitely call you, but like I'm happy to call you and like settle it, and that's why I like offered to pay for you guys to Uber, but there's no need for you guys to like do that shit. Using the right two lanes make a right turn on West Olive Avenue. Really not cool, and like I really recommend that you guys take that down because that's really not okay. And like I understand where you're coming from, but there's no need to do that.
As I said, this controversy had Jake's name in the headlines despite him not actually being an active part of it. He too was not present when this incident occurred. It was more to do with the people that he associated with. That said, before the year's end, Jake would be in his own transgender controversy. The next few months were relatively quiet ones for Logan Paul, as between May and November 2019 would have been the most intense training months for him in the build-up to yet another boxing match. If you remember back to the year prior, KSI and Logan Paul drew, whereas Jake Paul had defeated KSI's brother, Deji. Knowing what we know now, to what extent the Paul brothers actually despised KSI is a mystery, but Jake would play his part in helping promote the event, as well as hyping up his own boxing event that would take place in January 2020. Though in September 2019, within a video titled "KSI Tried to Fight Me Backstage," Jake Paul might have taken it a little bit too far.
KSI, I think it's time to admit your sexuality. We all see those big old man boobies you got too. I don't know if he's going through transformation or if he's under surgery.
Talking about sexuality and gender transformation so jokingly on the internet is only going to end how it did. people weren't happy with this. Twitter had a field day, and Jake Paul was once more accused of bigotry. Logan, on the other hand, would lose his rematch to KSI, and shortly after, Jake would announce his fight with Nissan Gibb, which would take place in January 2020. Compared to the two previous, 2020 was a relatively quiet year for the brothers in the media. Logan was still licking his wounds from the KSI fight and would see a bit of a face turn in public reception on the internet. Jake, on the other hand, would annihilate Nissan Gibb in a one-round slaughter in late January, but I'm sure you know what was right around the corner in early 2020 that would make it a little bit difficult for Jake to get up to his usual antics.
China has more than 200 confirmed cases of coronavirus, it's called, which produces pneumonia-like symptoms. 3 people have already died from this illness, which has spread to at least 3 other Asian countries.
Now to growing concerns about the deadly coronavirus officially hitting the U.S. Here's what we know. A Washington state resident fell ill after returning from Wuhan, China.
We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
But would something like COVID stop Jake's zany, wacky antics? Of course not. In May 2020, there was a wave of riots across the USA to protest the death of George Floyd at the hands of law enforcement. According to the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, 93% of these rallies were peaceful. The other 7% were not. And in many cases, it appeared as though some people wanted to use these riots as a way to personally benefit themselves. And it seems as though Jake Paul attended the latter, as in June 2020, video surfaced of him at a protest in an Arizona mall where people could be seen vandalizing and wreaking havoc on multiple shops. At one point, people smashed through a door at Sephora, and a person known as Andrew Blue, who was thought to be Jake Paul's videographer, recorded the incident on Instagram and could be heard saying, "Give me free cologne."
Hey yo, give me a free cologne!
Jake claimed that he and his team did not participate in the looting and were only there to document it. This claim seemed to come undone, however, after people noticed that within a video of the looting, you could clearly see Jake Paul with what appears to be a bottle of clear alcohol, likely vodka. If my calculations are correct, that is a bottle of Smirnoff. Jake was charged with criminal trespassing and unlawful assembly by the Scottsdale Police Department. And call me a bit of a conspiracy theorist, but he might have used these protests to gather supplies for an upcoming party. In July 2020, the then 23-year-old would come into the headlines once more, this time for hosting a party, despite the fact that COVID cases in California were surging at the time. There was beer pong, plenty of booze, an excavator that girls were just hanging from. It seemed like a proper rager. Say what you want about COVID restrictions, whether you think this party was putting people's lives in jeopardy, or if this was just young people having fun and that COVID was overblown, at this point in time, these stunts were heavily criticised. It's fair to say that it was a pretty busy summer for Jake. He was looting, partying, and then in August had the FBI raid his house.
He's known for being in the public eye, but today YouTube star Jake Paul is making headlines after an FBI raid at his home in Calabasas.
The FBI confirmed that it did carry out federal search warrants in California related to the investigation, but would not comment on what they were looking for or what was found. Many theories at the time circulated around the internet about what this investigation could have been related to. In fairly infamous pictures, FBI officers could be seen leaving Jake Paul's mansion with guns. That said, the year ended relatively quiet for Jake in terms of controversy. Logan, on the other hand, was sued by a company called Planeless Pictures almost exactly 2 years after the Japan incident. Planeless Pictures was formed in 2016 with the specific purpose of producing a film with Logan called Airplane Mode. They were in the process of negotiating a $3.5 million deal with Google to distribute the film when Logan went to Japan. And according to Planeless Pictures, what happened afterwards put a stop to the agreement. Therefore, now they were looking to Logan to foot the bill. I couldn't find specific figures on the budget or financial performance of Airplane Mode, but I have to assume that it didn't make its money back, and from Planeless Pictures' perspective, Logan was therefore to blame. To this very day, the lawsuit is apparently still pending. So 2020 was a comparatively relaxed year for the brothers, but the same thing could not be said about 2021. On the 9th of April 2021, a woman known as Justine Paradise would upload a video to YouTube titled, "Trigger Warning, Jake Paul sexually assaulted me." Within this 20-minute video, she would come forward with her story, armed with DM receipts, alleging that in the summer of 2019, Jake Paul forced her to give him oral sex. I implore you to watch the original video before you cast any judgment about what happened. But this is what Justine said. She claimed that all the guests that entered Jake Paul's house were forced to sign NDAs, which was why she didn't come forward with the allegations for almost 2 years.
As soon as you go in to the Team 10 house, right on the side of the wall, there's this thing that like takes your picture and has you sign an NDA form. Also, that is why I thought I wasn't allowed to talk about this, and then I made a TikTok today asked if someone assaulted me but I signed an NDA, like, am I allowed to speak about it? Because I thought if you signed an NDA, you're like signing away your rights to talk about anything, basically.
Her story alleges that after going to Jake Paul's house about half a dozen times, he expressed interest in her, and one time pulled her into a corner and began kissing her in front of other people. But things later escalated, with Jake leading her to his room where the two could be alone. Justine said that she was fine kissing him, but didn't want things to progress any further, thinking that Jake would respect that. According to Justine, he did not, and proceeded to get on top of her, forcing her to give him oral sex for about 30 seconds.
Normally, not all the time, but normally everybody respects me when I don't want to do sexual things, so I thought that it was fine if I went in his room, and I thought it would be fine to kiss him because I thought he would stop if I didn't want to do anything else. Like, that's normal, that's what you do.
After the alleged assault, she claimed that Jake immediately turned sour on her and then cut off contact. Within her video, she does explicitly show DMs that prove that she wanted to speak to Jake about a month after the alleged assault. But according to Justine, this was because she wanted to speak to Jake about how the incident made her feel. Justine said that she wanted to publicly come forward so that he knew that what he did was not okay. On Twitter, Jake would claim that the allegations were 100% false, making the claim that Justine was doing this maliciously to promote her adult content website and Amazon shopping list. He said that he would pursue this to the full extent of the law. Though, a short while after, a second woman came out with allegations against Jake. Rayleigh Lolly, a 21-year-old who had worked with Jake since she was 17, claimed that on one occasion Jake groped her, also claiming that he had previously called her jailbait. After that, Lolly stopped working with Jake. Out of every single one of Jake Paul's controversies, this is the most serious of them all. However, it wasn't where things ended. About a month after Justine's video dropped, Jake was seen in a Jeep driving down the beach in Puerto Rico. The problem that people had with this was that this particular beach was protected because it was the hatching place of various species of vulnerable turtles. According to The Independent, Puerto Rico sees turtle nesting and hatching season from February and August, as beaches attract several unique species, including the leatherback. Whether or not Jake knew that the turtles hatched on that beach, it's impossible to say. However, this was clearly reckless behaviour and put the lives of newborn and hatching turtles at risk. Logan would later speak about this incident, saying that everything that happened was legal and that he was tired of the media taking pot shots at the brothers. And that means that he probably wasn't very happy when the media set aim at the then 27-year-old about a month later. In June 2021, a new Twitter account named MeTube would make a post that caught the eye of the papers. The post was a video of Logan Paul doing a prank back in 2014. A prank in collaboration with Sam Pepper. So you already know that things are about to get a bit f***y.
What the hell? Yo, no, chill. Chill. No, she's mine now. I caught her. No, what? Yeah. What? This is how it works. Come on, bro.
The video, which has since been taken down from Logan's channel, was actually promoted by Logan a couple of years ago in a tweet that still remains up to this very day. The prank consisted of Pepper and Paul lassoing seemingly unsuspecting women out in public. Do keep in mind that a lot of, if not all of Pepper's pranks were apparently faked, so there's a good possibility that this one was too. Then again, it could be legitimate.
Hi, sorry, pick up. You're beautiful. You're beautiful.
Other than that, the latter half of 2021 was relatively quieter for the brothers. Perhaps it was because Logan and Jake were now entering their late and mid-20s respectively and wanted to be seen less as obnoxious hype beasts and more as respectable business and boxing icons. So around this time, Jake carries on his boxing career, and right around the corner was perhaps Logan's greatest accomplishment, with him launching Prime alongside former rival, now business partner KSI, on the 4th of January 2022. We're much closer to the modern day now, and in early 2020, NFTs were all the rage. For a few months before people found out that they were essentially all scams. In steps Jake Paul. On the 7th of March, CoffeeZilla came out with a video exposing Jake's scams. Within the video, he explains how Jake Paul had made over $2 million by promoting and running various crypto schemes and NFTs. Why by 2022 some people were still putting their faith in Jake after the Edfluence and the mystery boxes, I honestly couldn't tell you, so some empty pockets and a 1.8 million viewed video by CoffeeZilla was the result of it. The incident that received the most media attention was related to Jake Paul selling products by Justine's son. The long and short of this was that Sun told various celebrities to promote Tron and BitTorrent tokens, which several of them did without disclosing that they had been paid to put in a good word. This would lead to members of the public to be more inclined to invest in these without the knowledge that these were paid promotions. The celebrities that showed it included Jake Paul, Soulja Boy and Lindsay Lohan, with Jake agreeing to pay a $400,000 fine as a result. That said, Jake Paul's crypto crimes were nowhere near as publicised as his brothers. In late 2022, CoffeeZilla came out with a series of videos alleging Logan Paul of scamming his audience by releasing an unfinished NFT game called Cryptozoo, which encouraged users to buy tokens, hatch eggs, and collect characters. However, it was never finished, and it never worked as advertised. These videos by CoffeeZilla received the best parts of 25 million views, and once more, the tide of public opinion went crashing against Logan. He didn't exactly help himself, steering into the skid, denying any wrongdoing, and overall responding callously against the accusations, even threatening to take CoffeeZilla to court because of the videos. In the course of public opinion though, Logan was once more despised, and it caused him to change his ways early next year. It's possible that Logan saw that he wasn't going to be able to sway people's opinion of him, or perhaps he truly did have some sort of epiphany, but on the 13th of January 2023, Logan would come out with a post on Twitter stating that he reacted rash because of his fiery nature.
CoffeeZilla is not a criminal. I called him, I apologized. My initial response to his series was that of fire, an ego, flair, whatever it is, pride. I'm a fighter at heart, and I was defensive because I know I never scammed anyone with this project. I never made any money, never sold any tokens, and I only had the best intentions going in.
He also apologized to CoffeeZilla, announced that he was dropping the lawsuit against him, and declared that he was launching legal proceedings against others, with any money recovered being sent to the victims. After which, there was a bit of a radio silence.
It's been over, I think it's almost been 2 months now, and there's nothing. So it's like, you know, he says that he's refunding people, which sounds great for PR, and then it's just like radio silence.
In the meantime, his energy drink Prime was all the rage, with the product being in extremely high demand all around the world. Despite how it's performed in recent months, especially in early 2023, Prime was part of youth culture. But with that came its problems. The drink came under heavy criticism for appealing to an audience of children and teenagers, despite its ingredients potentially not being suitable for people this age. In 2023, Prime was banned in the Netherlands, banned in Slovenia, banned in New Zealand, with many other countries, including the USA, being called to look into its ingredients. People were also outraged at the fact that YouTubers throughout the web were giving the products glowing reviews, but once Prime was tasted by the masses, it received a lukewarm response to be generous.
Ooh, smells a bit high. What is that flavour you got there? It's like swallowing perfume.
So out of 10, what are you going to give Prime?
Yeah, it's like the sort of dregs of a sort of Gina D'Acampo tiramisu. You know, the little runny bits at the end. What to give out of 10? 0.
And come 2024, according to Fortune.com, the year's first quarter would see the drink drop 50% in sales compared to the quarter before. It's now not uncommon to see Prime in bargain bins, with the demand simply not what it once was. Of course, the first quarter of this year would take us to 2024. In early January, Logan Paul announced a buyback for Cryptozoo, which will cost him roughly $2.3 million, equivalent to £1.8 million. Strings are obviously attached though, for if you accept this offer, you are no longer allowed to sue him. This came a whole year after he announced that he would make amends, and this move was largely seen as a bad deal for the victims, but a legal cover for Logan. After somewhat of a redemption arc since Japan, his moves in the crypto market have arguably ruined the trust that it took him so long to rebuild with the general public. With the pair now 29 and 27 respectively, with Logan about to be a father and Jake trying to seem like a serious boxer, these two that came from being loud, obnoxious hype beasts have mellowed out a lot. Though with their penchant for being in the headlines, I'm sure that even after this video drops, it definitely won't be the last that we see of their sins, scams, or scandals. If you're still here and awake and you haven't already, you need to like this video and subscribe to the channel. After making this mega project, a like and subscription is all I ask in return. You could also check out my video on the delusional world of social media influencers. If you enjoyed this, I'm sure you'll love that one too. Also, if you haven't yet, don't forget to check out my podcast, episode 4 just dropped. Aside from that, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.